Hey, welcome back to another episode of Heroes and Videos. In this week's episode, we're going to look at some more comics I've picked up this summer from my local comic shop. If you stick around to the end of the video, we're going to be looking at the closest thing I've read to a Batman Scooby-Doo comic outside of the team-ups. I don't know if you guys are old enough to remember when the Scooby-Doo cartoon did crossovers with Batman. Batman 66, basically. This is not that, but it's the closest thing to a Batman Scooby-Doo book I've read that I picked up, and also one of the more notorious Spider-Man comics to ever come out. This is from back in the 60s. And so stick around to the end of the video because you'll see those. Before we start in, I would like to give a shout out to Chonko Comics and Nerd Culture and Garage Geek. Those folks both mentioned our channel on their channels here recently, and I do appreciate it. Kudos. There are a couple of fantastic channels. I will put a link to them in the comments so you can check them out as well. I really enjoy their content, and I'm glad that they enjoy mine as well. So with no further ado, let's get into some of the books I picked up this summer. First up is Iron Man 39. I have a pretty decent Iron Man run from 50 up, but I don't have a lot before that, and so here and there I pick them up. This one jumped out at me mainly because it's Herb Trimpe did the art on the inside of this. Herb Trimpe, I feel like, is greatly underappreciated. He just did so much. He's one of the seminal Hulk artists for me. He was the artist on the Hulk when I started reading it in the 70s. As a kid, and so I just feel like he just did, to me, he's the definitive Hulk artist. I know we've talked about that being like Doctor Who, whoever was the doctor when you started watching might be your favorite doctor, and I think it's the same thing with a lot of comic artists. Whatever creative team was on the book when you started reading it regularly, that's kind of who, you've got a lot of love for that creative team. Let me know if that's the case for you guys in the comments as well. This is a Trimpe cover also. It's not the inside. It looks like, I don't want to say typical Trimpe. One thing I found interesting in this book, the Avengers show up, but it's an iteration of the Avengers I'm not used to seeing. It's when Clint Barton was, instead of Hawkeye, he was Goliath at the time, and Thor's in it. Captain America's in it. What I find most interesting in is that Avengers lineup for this book, and they're in it just briefly, is Goliath, Thor, Captain America, and Falcon in his green costume. So I don't remember Falcon running with the Avengers much at that point in time, like before the David Michelinie run there, when Falcon was kind of forced onto the team. But I thought it was kind of cool inside this. It's not really well advertised or anything. I just noticed it reading the book, is that Falcon's in here in his original costume alongside the Avengers, which I thought was pretty cool. So that's Iron Man number 39. Next up is Marvel Premiere number 4. This is with Doctor Strange. Of course, I have the first couple issues of Marvel Premiere had Warlock. I also have, of course, the Iron Fist run, 15 through 25, and scattered issues after that. I'm trying to fill in the Doctor Strange issues, so the stuff from number 3 up to, I guess, 14. And I've got probably half of them. This is a neat book. Barry Windsor Smith did the art for this, and it's when he's really coming into his own in terms of his style. It's not like the Kirby sort of stuff he was doing when he was first doing Marvel books. This looks much more like what we're used to as Barry Windsor Smith. I haven't read it yet. It mentions at the beginning the concepts in here are based on Robert E. Howard property. I don't know if that's the spawn of Sluggeth. Kind of looks and feels a little bit like a zombie book, what little bit I looked at. I'm curious to read it to see just what the Robert E. Howard property is that they're using here, and the fact that they needed to mention that. I don't know if that was for copyright reasons or what, but that's Marvel Premiere number 4 with Doctor Strange. Next up, not guilty pleasure, just guilty. I don't know if I did pleasure, but this was $1. Batman and Robin, Boy Wonder, that all-star book they were doing, that DC did, that imprint. The Superman one was obviously much more popular with Grant Morrison and Frank Quitely. This is the one with, and honestly, the writer escapes me. Um, oh, sorry. Of course, it's Frank Miller. My bad. I just was overwhelmed by the Jim Lee art, which is kind of why I bought it. It was a buck. But yeah, duh. Of course, it's Frank Miller. I guess maybe I've just blanked that out because I don't like to think of this as Frank Miller because he's done so much better, so many better pieces of work. But Batman and Robin, The Boy Wonder #10. Don't think this series ever got finished. I've got a few of them here and there. The art is just beautiful. It's really well done. And so that's why I picked up that one. Next up, speaking of great art and being well done, Conan the Barbarian, #39. This is that Roy Thomas, John Buscema run. We were just talking about Barry Windsor Smith. This is after he left the book when Buscema's drawing it. It's really pretty book, and it wasn't, it was just a few bucks. And I didn't read Conan a lot growing up, but I've here and there been able to pick up a few, and it's just beautiful. Really enjoyed the Conan novels, like the pulp books, the paperbacks. I had a lot of those, that and John Carter, Warlord of Mars. So I've always loved that story writing, that style of storytelling is a better way for me to put that. So I just went ahead and had to pick up that Conan 39. Last few here, Submariner #34. This was a bit of an upgrade for me. Sorry to looking at the top of that. Yes, this is even an upgrade from the one in my collection. I love this. We're going to be doing a deep dive on Defenders here in a few weeks. I loved buying these back issues as a kid. This is a little before my time off the racks. Defenders was a book I really enjoyed and was buying off of the racks around issue 9, 10, 11, somewhere in there, and kept buying them off the racks. So I started to go back and get back issues when these characters first met, or at least when they kind of had team-ups. And this issue and the one after it are kind of precursor issues to the Defenders lineup. Doctor Strange isn't in there, but it's, the Hulk and Submariner and the Silver Surfer getting together. It's kind of like a little trial balloon, if you will, for what becomes the Defenders, or the original Defenders. So again, we'll be doing a deep dive in a few weeks where we'll be running through the books that lead up to the Defenders. Have a pretty good run of that as well. Well into the first 100 issues, almost the whole series, I think, but we're missing a few here and there. But yeah, great book. Sal Buscema does the art. It's just really pretty book. And, anytime you get three powerhouses together like the Hulk, Namor, and the Silver Surfer, it's just fun watching these very big personalities with big powers interact. That's very cool. Now, I mentioned Batman and Scooby-Doo. Well, it's I guess a better hook would have been Batman and Neal Adams. Picked up this Brave and the Bold, #93. Just a beautiful Neal Adams cover there. Brave and the Bold with Batman and the House of Mystery. Just love that cover with the creepy eyes and the hand there with through the darkened doorway. I don't want to spoil this too much, so you might want to skip ahead about 30 seconds. It's not a super big spoiler. This kind of reads like a Scooby-Doo book. At every step of the way, where you think it's something that's really mysterious or that's supernatural, I guess, just like your average Scooby-Doo episode, lo and behold, it turns out there might be a logical, rational explanation behind it. And of course, like a lot of great mysteries, particularly the House of Mystery, Unexpected, a lot of those DC horror books, there may be more to it than what can be explained rationally. And those good, I don't even want to say horror, because it's not shock horror, but those good mystery properties, books, novels, stories, whatever the word is I'm looking for, have that thing at the end where you're like, oh, well, was it really fully explained, or is there something a little bizarre that you can't give a rational explanation to? And this is no different. But I will say this: there are a lot of Batman books out over the years that have beautiful Neal Adams covers, and the insides not so much. And I don't mean that Neal didn't do well inside the book, but sometimes he's not doing the interiors. And there are any number of amazing Batman comics out there that have beautiful, iconic Batman covers, and yet he didn't do the interiors. Or if he did, There's just a few panels here and there. This thing is amazing Neal Adams art from beginning to end. It's here, let's crack it open just for a moment and take a look at a couple of these pictures, because there's just so many iconic scenes in here. This thing is just I don't know, it's just glorious to look at. Let's see if I can find us a couple. See how it presents here. Well, after all that, maybe I'm not going to find one. Most of them are smaller panels, but just look at that panel construction down in the bottom here, where, you know, he sees a kid running away on this page at the bottom there, and that he's watching the kid, and then he turns towards us, but it's split up into 3 panels, but it's all one panel. Even the picture down there at the bottom on the opposing page, there's just so many great, and it doesn't quite convey the shading, the inking on this. There's just so many pages and panels that are cross-hatching is the wrong word, but they just page to page. There's just so many great Batman shots in here. You can't quite tell at the bottom there. Where am I going here? Yeah, where he's holding the thug over on this page. It's just beautiful artwork through and through. Neal Adams was such a rare gem, and that House of, that Brave and the Bold with Batman and the House of Mystery, just a phenomenal book. Now that brings us to the last book that I mentioned, that infamous Amazing Spider-Man issue. I do have this in my collection. This was a big upgrade because the cover on the one I have is a bit scuffed. This is Amazing Spider-Man 96. This was the first Amazing Spider-Man, if you don't see that, approved by the Comics Code, because it wasn't. This is the famous, I think it's referred to as the famous drug issue. It's the first part of a Green Goblin trilogy. I love this cover because you see, you know, Spider-Man's getting away. It's not, the scene you're looking at on the cover does happen, not quite like it's presented here, but I just love that spotlight. The whole cover is just amazing. Even with that side panel that's, you know, almost like something out of the Daily Bugle, like A Job for Peter Parker, The Last Fatal Trap. Oh, and sure enough, down the bottom is the Green Goblin. So no surprise that he shows up in this book. But it's hard to describe just how revolutionary this was at the time. Again, I wasn't buying books off the stand at this point, but having drug abuse or drug abuse, because this shows the dangers of using drugs poorly, if that's the right way to put it. Kids, don't try this at home. But it shows the dangers of it. It shows it's a very real thing. There's an exchange with Robbie Robertson's son, whose name escapes me, Randy Robertson, and Norman Osborn. It's pretty relevant even today in terms of whether Osborn really understands the drug problem because he's wealthy, and not that wealthy folks are insulated from that, but just in terms of the fact that it's not just a problem for people that don't have means. The drug problem can affect anybody, and it shows a very realistic bad end, or potentially bad end for drug use. It's just and when this came out, that was a rare thing. I mean, you see it everywhere nowadays, but this is when it just wasn't talked about that much. This would have been late 60s, I think, late 1960s, when the country was going through all sorts of stuff, and this book talks about drugs. It touches on race somewhat as well. And it was a really revolutionary book at the time, and the Comics Code wouldn't approve it. And Stan Lee said, you know what, we're putting this out anyway, which was a pretty bold move. So I was very pleased to pick this up. Again, it's an upgrade from what I have. It's in really nice shape, I think. And of course, it's my favorite superhero, so there's that as well. Amazing Spider-Man 96. So that was it for the books this round of books from the local comic shop this summer. We've got some, like I mentioned, we'll have a Defenders episode dropping fairly soon. Thor Thursday, or Mighty Thor Thursday, I think I'm going to do every other Thursday. So I can't think of an alliterative way to say Mighty Thor Other Thursday. maybe Stan, if you want to, if you want to send me somehow send me some inspiration on how to alliteratively say that, or even be able to say alliteratively. Also I've got I'm going to do a couple of change of pace with a few videos here coming up with some deep dives into some Fantastic Four stories that I've been checking on, some Galactus chronology stuff that's got me interested. So we'll be doing some of those as well. Oh, and I got a little mixed up last week or the other week on the first week of NFL season. Huge Rams fan, and for some reason, between wondering when I'm going to actually post these versus when I record them, I had in my mind that somehow opening game was last Thursday night, but of course it's not. It's this Thursday night. Now, depending on when this video drops, who knows what this Thursday is. This Thursday would be September 4th would be the date of the first game. Of course, first Rams game, which is the biggest deal to me, is Sunday the 7th coming up. So, whose house? Rams' house. I'm very excited about the NFL season starting. You might want to let me know in the comments so if you have a favorite NFL team, or if you're even interested at all, if that means anything to you. Would love to cover some of that at some point. In the meantime, thanks for tuning in. I appreciate you. In the meantime, please keep reading comics, keep going to see movies in theaters, and be kind to each other.